Hi there, thanks for dropping in. It's nice to have company on a wintry day. Although our snow has stopped and the sun is shining and apparently spring is coming at some point. So what are you working on lately? I thought maybe today we could make something a little bright and cheerful, and I thought about 3D blocks. Now, I don't mean 3D in terms of illusion blocks like tumbling blocks and whatnot. They're beautiful and they're a whole separate topic. These are 3D, meaning there's part of it raised and you can lift it from the actual block itself. They're cute. It depends on the fabric and the size. Sometimes a tiny one is really cute, but the big ones are too, and they would be great for a baby's quilt or a child's quilt, wall hanging, pillow cover, and tote bags. You decide what you would like to use it on if you make some, and I think you might want to. They're so easy and they're so cute. Now, sometimes Pinwheels used to kind of give me a run for my money, but I've been better lately, and I pay more attention to what I'm doing. I don't know why. All of a sudden, they seem to stop to get to me. I think because I'm conscious of what's going on. So these pinwheels I made from 4-inch squares because I thought they were be a good size to see in the video and would show up well. Now, to make one block, you need 8 squares the same size. It can be any size. It can be 4, it can be 3.5, could be 2.5, it could be 8, any size, but they 8 are to be the same size. Now, you can make your background for them. I would like 4 the same for your pinwheel, so it was more distinctive, but if you want different ones for your background, they don't have to be the same. I just happen to make it that way. And these are pinwheels with Prairie Points. That's what I found it under. They resemble Prairie Points, but they're made differently than any Prairie Points I had made before. So you take 2 of your blocks, and of course make sure it's not the same color. Make sure it's 2 contrasting or coordinating or whatever you want to call it. And with the second block, you fold it in half. You can press it if you want to have nice, even, sharp corners. Fold it in half. Then fold it in half lengthwise. So you go from one side to the other so you have a little square. Press the square. You can finger press it or touch it with your iron so you have a really sharp point there because you're going to be using it as a guide. Now, open it up and you're going to make a triangle that comes halfway down and meets along that sharp point. Make a triangle that comes halfway over and meets on that sharp point. Then you set it along one side of your block and and baste it. Now, I basted it at 1/8 of an inch because you don't want 1/4 of an inch. You're going to make another seam to sew this sew these 2 blocks together, so you don't want 2 1/4-inch seams. So when I base it on the machine, and you can just use your stitching length in case you forget to change it back, I used like 1/8 of an inch, and then it's going to be within the seam and not cause as much bulk. So again, you have your 2 squares, whatever size you want. You try different sizes, see what happens. And you're going to fold it so that it's the right side is out. Fold it length and fold it like this so you have your little square. Press it with your fingers so you know exactly where the center is. Make a triangle to go right along that very center mark. The other triangle goes along. Make sure you have a nice sharp point at the top. Carefully lift it over and sew your basting seam along there. And there you go. So there's, when you have 2 together, and there's your 4 together. I thought they were pretty cute. Now you do have a little opening in the back here, but I thought it was really cute. Just different. You want something different and fun for spring and for forgetting that it is winter time and all that's going on in the world. So that's your little Prairie Point 3D pinwheels. So you start with your 8 pieces the same size. As for the color scheme, you can decide, do I want all the 4 pinwheels the same color? Do I want the background the same color? You can put the background each a different one and add lots of color variety to it. So that's as simple as that. And that's your 3D pinwheel, Prairie Point pinwheel. So I found another pinwheel, and this is cute too, and it's just as fast to make. It just makes a difference. I think I might leave this one out and we can look at the two. So this is the 3D pinwheel, not a Prairie Point, but as you see, you have your little edges. You have a little raised part, and it just has a different design. That particular one is, these are 4-inch squares. These must be 3.5. Check and see. No, these are 4 also. These are 4-inch squares. And again, you need 8 squares the same size, 2 for each, 2 pieces for each little block, and your blocks go together. Now, your 2 pieces, of course, are not the same. Your 2 pieces are your background and your pinwheel. So you put your pinwheel to the top, right sides together. You flip up the bottom left corner, to here so that you can see the pretty color. And then you take the top and join it over there. And there you go. And again, I basted across the top in an 1/8 of an inch so that you wouldn't have all kinds of bulk there. So there it leaves your little opening. And if you do it from the left up to the right corner and the left over to the right corner, it leaves your little flap pointing out always. It's kind of an easy way to guide. I don't know if it has to be, but it looks nice. So if you make 2, that's what they look like together. And this is different fabric, but that's the little pinwheels. They're all pointing out. And this one's a little bigger. And again, it's whatever size you want. As long as your 8 blocks are all the same size, it doesn't matter what size it is, whether you want a tiny one, whether you want a larger one, maybe you want different sizes, maybe you want to make one big one and a couple smaller ones on either side. They would be cute for cornerstones on a baby quilt if you had some design in the middle and just put 4, one in each corner. Or I thought it'd be cute to make a full row, make maybe a row of that in a plain color, and then a row of this one in a plain color, and just to see the different designs, because we're going to do 2 more 3D ones, so you have choice of different quilt blocks that you can put together and have them all, or at least half of them. And I wouldn't make an entire quilt that way. It's up to you. You might want to, only because there's a fair amount of bulk at the back of the very center. Now you might want to open your seams and press them flat, which is a good idea. I pressed mine flat and a couple of them and made the little twirl where you see the 4 little blocks in the center, and it made a great difference. And once you press them down at the seam line, they're not overly bulky, but they're more so than a lot of other quilt blocks. So that's your pinwheel, 3D pinwheel. The other was the Prairie Point. That's that one. Now, the 1 seam Flying Geese. It's not really a child's quilt, but it looks cute, and if you do it in children's colors, it certainly looks nice. For example, I made this in a little cotton that I had left over from a child's quilt, and if you open that up, that's nice and bright, and it looks cute. It's just another design with a little bit of opening there. So for the these are 3.5 inches, and you'd have 2 for every block. You have 2 3.5 inch ones for for this particular style, or I'll tell you how to adjust your pattern. 3.5 inches. And for the, well, it said geese, but isn't one a goose? Anyway, for the goose, or the middle part, it's 3.5 by, you double it and take away 1/2 inch. And the reason you do that is you want your 3.5 for your width, but you don't want it down to the bottom. You want to have that little bit showing above the goose for your seam. So if my blocks are 3.5, double would be 7 minus 1/2 inch, and so my center part is 3.5 by 6.5. So now you take, I thought I left one open here, I guess I didn't. Let's take a big one. This is a 5.5. This would be more for an adult, but maybe for a child's quilt too. Let's take a 5.5 inch block. Oh, I forgot that white wouldn't show very well on white. Well, let's do this. If you want to make a little board for yourself, it's an artist's canvas. I just covered it with unbleached cotton, unbleached, what do you call that? And tacked it around, put a little batting in there, and unbleached muslin. And it's pretty good. It holds it, like this size is a pretty good size, and I can put several blocks on it. I have a smaller one if I'm working with tiny blocks, and it holds it well enough that it's not going to fall off, because you're usually working on it flat. And when I'm finished, I just carry it around with the blocks sitting on it, so we're good to go. I'll put this so that you can see the difference between the whites. So you have your 2 squares and a rectangle. Your 2 squares are, in this case, they're 5 inch squares, and my rectangle is 5 by, double 5 is 10, take away 1/2, so 9.5. So it's 5 by 9.5. So 2 5 inch squares and one that's double minus 1/2, your rectangle. Put your 5 inch square right side up, your rectangle to the top, and of course it's going to be the same width, and your top one right side down. Now make sure that you have left that little space there for your seams. If you can see the little space underneath, you know you're okay. And I always say that on the pattern, one of the patterns I was looking at, they said put your space or your fold at the top, but I don't know why I started, and it's whatever's easiest for you. I say put my fold at the bottom and do my seam on the left hand side. You don't want your seam where the fold is. You want that free. So your fold on the bottom, shorter than the one under it, and your seam on the left hand side, you do 1 seam. And when you sew that 1 seam on the side and open it up, you are going to see that you will have a flying goose. I don't know what's the right name. It will come over almost to the edge, probably completely to the edge if I have that folded right, and you have your little space below for your 1/4 inch seam when you join this block to the next one. So with 1 seam you have, I'm holding that not very straight, but with 1 seam you have a flying geese, and you're putting your 2 squares same size, and the rectangle is, the width is the same, but the length is double minus 1/2. But you know what? You can make the flying geese in the center any size. They wouldn't, as long as it's the same width as the block underneath, the 2 blocks, which is going to be your sky part. It doesn't have to be that long. You can make it shorter if you like. Try one shorter, you might like it better. You might want a goose that's not as big as the others going down to the end. whatever suits you. It doesn't have to go right down to within that seam line, but one seam, and you have your flying goose. Now, when you go to do your next seam at the top, you have to be careful, of course, that you're holding it and you get it level on the whole thing. But one seam and you're all set. Now, look at this cute little one. These little blocks were, what did I say, 3.5 probably, because I have my 3.5-inch ruler here. 3.5, and so this would be 3.5 by 7, 6.5. So there's one little flying geese, and I think they're so cute in the child's pattern, child's fabric. I should have had the blue for the sky and the geese the color, but then it gives you an idea. Isn't that cute? So again, the two sides don't have to be the same. I just happen to have that fabric. I put them the same, but you have your flying geese with one seam, and whatever size you want. That's a nice size if you want to quickly do a bottom row or a side or break for a border in an adult quilt. On the Missouri Star Quilt Company site, she made an entire quilt with flying geese, this style, one seam flying geese, and didn't do a border. They were all grays of different colors, of different shades. Oh my goodness, it was pretty. And just without the border, just did a fairly dark binding on the side. It was very striking. So you get your ideas out and see what's going on. There's all sorts of ideas. And when I was looking at these, I was thinking, well, what if I did this and what if I did that? And even my thread catcher that I made the last video, I was looking at it, I took it out and I thought, that's kind of cute. But you know what, I was sorting my jewelry and I thought, hopefully it will start traveling again soon. And I thought, you know what, I could put my jewelry in there, close it up, it won't fall out, and who would suspect that I'd have jewelry in here, and it's not going to get damaged because you have the nice batting and cardboard on the bottom, and a lot of fabric on the top. So use your, you can make something, but you can use it for other things, especially with that, they would never suspect. My thread catcher that we made the week before, or a couple of weeks before, I just keep it as a little bowl for my clips, my little red clips. So you have make all kinds of, just whatever comes to your mind, why don't you try it? Now, the last one is called a folded quilt block. And I don't have a specific name, it's just folded quilt block. Now, it's really cute. And it has almost a cathedral window top style in here. I only did one side to show you. And you can sew that side, and you get a fairly good view of the third fabric that's in the inside. Because your blocks are on the diagonal, you have more give, so you can pull it back a little bit more and have a nice showy piece of fabric in the middle there. So how do you make it? Well, let's go with it. So you take three squares the same size. Again, it doesn't matter. These are 5-inch. I kind of went with 5 and 3.5. These are 5-inch squares because any of the blocks with 5-inch squares are good for the charm squares. So we have 3 5-inch squares. Now, 2 of them could be similar, or exactly the same. One, you want it different because you want it to be visible, to show through, and you want it different. If you make them all the same, it wouldn't be any sense. So you have 3 blocks. You put your bottom one face side up, right side up. You take one of those blocks and make a triangle, and if it is if it has a pattern on it, you kind of have to be careful on how you set it down. So if you just want something that's not specific with words and whatnot, it might be a little easier. So you make a triangle, and carefully fold it along the edges so that it's exactly, which I'm sure that isn't, but it's exactly the way it should be. Take your other one, make your triangle to the other direction, fold it down, and have them meet exactly. Now, at this point, so they won't move, I'll pin the bottom and I'll make a stitch. I made a basting. Well, actually, I just sewed it around from around this corner and around that corner, and I sewed the 1/4 of an inch, because if you don't sew it now and you're doing your folding back, you might not leave a 1/4 of an inch there and you lose a little bit of your open window. So once I folded them and made sure they were in the right place, I did a 1/4 of an inch around, and then I knew I had my seam allowance, so when I played with opening this up, I'm not going to interfere with it. So pretend we have our seam allowance all the way around, and once it's around, I fold it one side back, and again, because it's on the diagonal, you can get a pretty good opening there. If you want to press that, you can. I just folded mine down and kind of made a little indent in them, you could see, but if you press it, then you know exactly where it is. And then top stitch around, the same as you would a cathedral window. So your 3 squares the same size, make a triangle on each side. I sewed around. You might not want to go all the way around. You might want to just do the 2 corners to hold it in. And then fold one side back and sew it, fold the other side, and you know you have your 1/4 of inch seam, so you're not going to be cutting it off when you're sewing it to the next block. Let's put another block beside it. So now, if you want to make it look like a flower, and these are your petals, let's see if I can keep that open a little bit. You can watch and make one so that the triangles go this way that you open up on one, but they go the other direction, and there's your 2 top petals. There's your, no, this would be over here, there's the bottom one, and then your 4th, you could, yeah, it would be that way. So that's cute. That makes a really nice design. You can make them fairly big and just make one big petal, one big flower for a front of a small pillow for your couch, or make it a lot smaller and have several on the pillow case. But that's cute where you open it up. This one, they're both sewn. But again, if I had words and I had to watch like that, I was wanting them to all go the correct way, so you watch which way you fold it. It doesn't matter when you're starting out, but if you want them to form the 4, or if you want them to be all going the same, then you're going to watch how you make them. But I thought it was kind of cute to have the petals like that. And I'm trying to think of another hint for that. I guess that's just about it. When you do sew them together, again, if you did that little bit of sewing at the beginning, you're not cutting off any of your openings. You have your closing there for your seam. So that's a cute one. Here's one I made first. I think this was 3.5 inches. My ruler got lots of use. I'm looking for it. I must have set it somewhere else. That's a 3.5 inch one. And when I folded it back on one side and then you fold on the other, it's striking. It's really cute. You don't have to make the flower design, but it's another design that it is a little bit of texture, a little bit of fun, which we need right now. So, and I guess that's all for now, because that's a fair amount to remember. I am going to put some printed directions that I made up as I went along down at the bottom of the video. So hopefully, I tried to print it off and I couldn't find it. Hopefully I can find it. So, and I'll send it along to you. But they're all, I've located them all on, or similar ones, on YouTube. And again, just in case you want to look, this is just a 3D pinwheel. This is 3D pinwheel with Prairie Points. Oh yes, our little, what do you call it? Oh, flying geese. One seam flying geese. And our fourth one is, it's just called folded quilt block. So have fun. Make a row of each. You're gonna have a fancy quilt. There's gonna be lots of little spaces and things sticking up and hanging down and everything else. Anyway, have fun. I just thought it was something cute to look at and something to play with. Bye for now.